हीरो की। बुधवार को तमिलनाडु के कुन्नूर से बड़ी बुरी खबर आई थी जिसने हर हिंदुस्तानी को झंझोर कर रख दिया। यहां हुए हेलीकॉप्टर क्रैश भारत के पहले सीडीएस जनरल बिपिन रावत और उनकी पत्नी समेत 13 लोगों की मौत हो गई। इस खबर के बाद देश गम में डूब गया। अनंत यात्रा पर जाने वाले सीडीएस जनरल बिपिन रावत को हमारी ओर से भावभीनी श्रद्धांजलि। देश की आन बान और शान बिपिन लक्ष्मण सिंह रावत, जिन्हें जनरल बिपिन रावत के नाम से भी जानते हैं। 16 मार्च 1958 को उत्तराखंड के पौड़ी गढ़वाल में जन्मे जनरल रावत हमको अलविदा कहकर इस दुनिया से रुखसत हो गए।
जिन लोगों की दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण मौतें हुई उनमें चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ और उनकी धर्मपत्नी श्रीमती मधुलिका रावत, उनके रक्षा सलाहकार ब्रिगेडियर लखविंदर सिंह लिड्डर, स्टाफ ऑफिसर लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल हरजिंदर सिंह और एयर फोर्स हेलीकॉप्टर क्रू समेत आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के अन्य 9 लोग शामिल हैं। चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ का अंतिम संस्कार फुल मिलिट्री ऑनर्स के साथ किया जाएगा।
बिपिन रावत के नेतृत्व में हिंदुस्तान ने हर दुश्मन को मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया। यही थे जिन्होंने पुलवामा के हमले के बाद पाकिस्तान को विध्वंस की भाषा में जवाब दिया, चीन को उसकी हरकतों में नाकाम किया। 43 वर्ष की सैन्य सेवा में उन्होंने देश के सर्वोच्च मिलिट्री रैंक तक का सफर तय किया। खतरों वाले एरिया में डटे रहने वाले रावत भले ही इस धरती को छोड़ अनंत यात्रा पर चले गए हों, लेकिन उनके शब्द आज भी हमारे बीच जिंदा हैं। वो कहा करते थे कि फौजी और उनकी रैंक कभी रिटायर नहीं होते। वाकई में जनरल रावत हर हिंदुस्तानी के दिलों से कभी भी रिटायर नहीं होंगे। जनरल बिपिन रावत ही हमेशा के लिए हमारे स्वदेश हीरो रहेंगे। चलिए यहाँ पर हम आपको बता दें कि उनकी अंतिम विदाई का सिलसिला भी शुरू हो चुका है, जहाँ पर प्रधानमंत्री मोदी समेत देश के दिग्गज राजनेता भी पहुँच रहे हैं और पूरे सम्मान के साथ उन्हें आखिरी विदाई जो है वो दी जा रही है।
It has been said that you're undertaking a very ambitious restructuring of the army, etc., the commands. How key is this Indian military reorganizing itself into integrated theatre commands towards securing India, sir?
Well, theatre commands have actually become a necessity for our country because, we've got 2 adversaries with unsettled borders. So you've got to make sure that to deal with the northern adversary, you need a single commander to look at the operational situation there. And he must have the resources from all the 3 services under command and under his control so that we can you can put in a joint effort in an integrated manner to deal with the situation that may evolve on the line of actual control. Similarly, on a western front, again with Pakistan, we need to put up a united joint front. And that can only happen if you have one theatre commander looking at one battlefront against one adversary and one theatre commander looking at one battlefront against the other adversary. I would like to look at the past, look at the experience that we have gained from our past wars. We fought a war in 1962. In 1962, it was fought by the army on the land. The Air Force was kept out of battle. Why did that happen? It's because the political hierarchy that time felt that the Air Force should not be utilized because if we utilize the Air Force, the adversary China can do more damage to us through their air power. That is because there was possibly a lack of understanding of this integrated joint warfare. And there was no commander, single commander to advise the government on how joint warfare is fought. If at that time we had a joint commander or a unified commander, integrated theatre, who could have advised that battle has to be fought on air and land simultaneously. That is why we call it an air-land battle. And had we utilized the Air Force, then the enemy which was rumbling down the hills of Arunachal Pradesh in the Tawang tract could have been dealt, a severe blow could have been dealt to the adversary with the air power. It was not used. It's because we were all working in vertical silos. You look at the 65 operations. The air played a major role, although 65 operation is not much talked about. But our Air Force, with a much lesser air combat capability vis-a-vis the Pakis. The Pakistanis had better aircraft vis-a-vis ours. Yet we were able to suppress the Pakistani Air Force on the Western Front. And finally coming down to the 71 operations. 71 operations, the integrated theatre battle and joint employment of forces is seen in Bangladesh, erstwhile East Pakistan and now Bangladesh, where you had an army commander called General Lakhjit Singh Arora, who was actually responsible for the land forces and took control and made the overall plan, along with his Air Force and naval component commanders, who were, Krishnan and Diwan, the two naval and Air Force component commanders. But that time what happened was, the military was told as early as April 71 that something needs to be done to prevent the refugee situation from overflowing into our country and to prevent the terrorist atrocities and the kind of atrocities that were being committed by East Pakistan or the Pakistani army against the population of East Pakistan. So we were given this task as early as April 71. But then, the three chiefs who were there with Manekshaw in the lead, he advised the government that very soon the monsoon will come. We need some time to prepare. And we will decide the time for fighting the war. In the meantime, the Bangladesh Mukti Jodhas, or the Mukti Bahini, they had started dealing with the Pakistan army in East Pakistan and had started weakening them, gathering information about them. So a large amount of intelligence was available to us through the Mukti Jodhas and our own intelligence operatives operating there. So finally, when we decided to go into war in December, because Pakistan initiated the war on the Western Front on 3rd of December, and we went into the war, you found that it was an integrated battle which was fought. The land forces and the air forces were operating in a very joint manner. It was kind of an air-land battle. Both the commanders at some stage decided, if you have to race to Dhaka, then you must do an air-land battle. And we did the Tangel landings. That is when 2 paras were dropped there with the air force and the land forces then linked with them, and we were able to reach Dhaka. Navy at the time was told that you must blockade the Chittagong port and make sure that nobody can escape from that site. So what happened there was that the 93,000 prisoners of war booty that we got was because the Navy ensured that no escape route was available from the sea route, otherwise these people would escape. So Navy was doing the task based on the overall plan that had been made. Air Force was supporting the ground forces in the operation. This was a classic example of a theatre battle. And when the battle had been won, the surrender was taken and decided upon by the Eastern Theatre Commander. There was no interference happening from the army headquarters. The 3 chiefs here were advising the government, keeping the government informed what is happening, resourcing the theatre commanders in the way they wanted to be resourced. Now you found that by about 7th or 8th December, when the Pakistani Air Force had been completely decimated in the Eastern Theatre, a decision was taken that some of the Air Force from here could come to the support in the Western Theatre, because we had suffered a setback in Longewala, where the Chinese had launched Pakistanis had launched a very major offensive with their mechanized forces. So the same Air Force was then diverted westward and utilized to blunt the offensive in Longewala. But here again what happened? In the Western Front, you didn't have a theatre battle being fought. You had a Western Army commander operating from Simla, looking at the Western sector, and you had a Southern Army commander operating from Pune, looking at the desert sector. Now, while you were making very good gains in the Western sector, we were almost knocking on the doors of Sialkot and Lahore on the Western sector. But we were suffering some setbacks in the Southern sector in Longewala, and initially in Bhuj also there was some action that had taken place. So what happened was, the resources were diverted. Air Force was decided to Longewala, because it was each, I would say, army commander, calling for assistance, and somebody in Delhi taking a call. Had there been one theatre commander looking after the Western Front, maybe he would have decided, never mind if I lose Longewala, so long as I get Sialkot and Lahore in my pocket, which would have been better. I feel if there had been a theatre commander, the decision to support the operations in Longewala maybe would have gone in favor of pressing on the offensive towards Sialkot and Lahore, which would have been advantageous. And subsequently, we could have still come and maybe, yes, lost Longewala, but recaptured it. So you have to look at, where the value territory lies, where the value objective lies. This can only happen if you have one commander, because here the Southern Army commander thought, oh my God, for me, if I lose Longewala, it's blood on my face. So, I must make sure. So he was crying hoarse to get support, and he was given the support. But then you lost the advantage that you were gaining. You were at Nanakot, knocking the doors of Sialkot, and Sialkot was there for you to take. In the meantime, the ceasefire was called in the eastern sector. So the war had to be called off, and that is where the situation lies today.